In the headlines, schools to be shut down on Wednesday and Thursday as the country is placed under hurricane watch. The Infirmary and Grotto home for the homeless say no new residents ahead of the approaching storm. And a 2-day shutdown of L'Express diesel ferry services because of the approaching storm. I am Andrea Lee with the Channel 5 News. Back with the details after this.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fenced pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
Thank you for staying with us. First up, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit has announced a shutdown of all schools on Wednesday and Thursday and is calling on the Dominican public to remain calm and vigilant as the country has been placed under hurricane watch for Tropical Storm Isaac, which was downgraded from a hurricane on Monday night. Addressing the nation on Tuesday morning, Mr. Skerrit urged Dominicans to take the weather advisories seriously and do all to ensure the safety of themselves and their property.
I want to urge all of us in Dominica to take these warnings seriously. Whether it is a tropical storm, or tropical storm watch, or whether it's a hurricane watch or hurricane warning, we must treat all of them the same way. The fact remains, the storm is some distance away from us and anything can happen. Our hope and prayer is that it weakens and it goes away and there'll be no impact on our country and our residents. But we must not be like the foolish virgins. We have to prepare and ensure that we prepare to the fullest possible extent. We all have vividly in our memories what happened to us in respect to Hurricane Maria and the speed at which it moved from a Category 3 to a Category 5, which was the quickest in history, 36 minutes. And we all suffered at the hands of Hurricane Maria. So as far as the National Emergency Planning Organization is concerned, we are taking no chances and we're leaving no stone unturned in respect to the preparation of the state, the country, and its citizens for this incoming weather system.
As the country prepares for the impact of the weather system, Superintendent of Police Richmond Valentine says the police force will be ready for action should the need arise.
The Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force has activated its disaster preparedness and response plan, and as a consequence, all police officers have been asked to return for duty pending further instructions. On the issuance of a warning, a decision may be taken to issue a state of emergency. Whenever a state of emergency is issued, a curfew will follow. The curfew is for the safety and security of everyone. All arrangements are in place to enforce and police a curfew whenever that becomes necessary. I would like to warn the general public that the curfew hours, whenever that becomes necessary, must be strictly adhered to.
In related news, the country's 99 emergency shelters are ready to be open to the public once the word is given. Local Government Commissioner, who is also chairman of the Emergency Shelters Subcommittee of NEPO, Glenroy Toussaint, says due to the reduced number of emergency shelters, individuals are being encouraged to adopt the neighborhood approach for Tropical Storm Isaac.
We will be publishing a list of 99 emergency shelters and that is to serve the general public. We have covered all communities and hamlets. I must say that we had to, as a result of Maria, develop what we call a neighborhood approach. What we mean by that is we encourage persons who have families that they can take, whose homes are safe, that they can take people. We have encouraged those persons to do so, and we are pretty much pleased of the response that we have received. A lot of people have responded. They have clearly indicated to us that they do not want their names to be published for varying concerns, and we understand that, but we are really mindful of the fact that they were able to come forward and assist us in that regard.
Tuse urged individuals to be respectful of the buildings being used for shelters.
And I want to inform the general public that we are going to be very strict on shelter rules. We have developed shelter rules, and we are going to put up those rules at strategic location in each of the shelters so people understand clearly that they have got to confine to those rules that govern the shelters. And of course, we are concerned about some events that took place during Maria and post Maria. We do not want that to be repeated, and so we are really calling on the general public too. When you are coming to the shelters, please adhere to those rules. We are going to be registering every single family and individual who enters the shelter, because we have got to give an account of persons who enter the shelter. So we're asking again for our people to cooperate. We're going to register each and every person, and we would like the general public to cooperate when certain questions are asked of you, so that you supply that information so that we can have an accurate account of persons who are in shelter.
Meantime, National Disaster Coordinator Fitzroy Pascal has urged the public to take all necessary steps ahead of Isaac's impact.
Ensure that preparedness activities are completed by tomorrow, Wednesday. If people are staying home, ensure that you store lots of water for drinking, cooking and cleaning. Have enough food for at least 3 days and backup lighting. Secure first aid kits. Secure fuel for generators and cars. Cut overhanging branches that can damage homes. Have plywood on hand for covering windows and glass doors. Move from unsafe areas like landslides and flood-prone areas to a safer area with family and friends and emergency shelters, and make that determination early.
In other top stories, those traveling to Martinique, Guadeloupe and St. Lucia via ferry are being cautioned that these ferry services have been cancelled for the next 2 days. L'Express des Îles was initially scheduled to travel to Pointe-à-Pitre in Guadeloupe on Wednesday and Fort-de-France in Martinique, then on to St. Lucia on Thursday. However, operations supervisor in the shipping department of HHV Whitchurch and Company Limited, Hans Victor, says the approaching tropical storm Isaac has caused a change in plans.
All ferry services to and from Dominica for Wednesday, September 12th and Thursday, September 13th have been cancelled. Weather permitting, ferry services will resume on Friday, September 14th, northbound to Guadeloupe at 11:30 and southbound to Martinique St. Lucia at 2:30 p.m. All persons concerned, please take note, and I repeat, due to the approaching tropical storm/hurricane Isaac, all ferry services scheduled for Wednesday, September 12th and Thursday, September 13th have been cancelled. All concerned, please take note, and you may call telephone numbers 255-1166 or 1125 or telephone 235-2183 for further information. Thank you, and everyone please stay safe during this hurricane passage.
Dominica's water company has revised the time at which it will shut down the country's water supply on Wednesday. Public Relations Officer for Dowasco, Edward Regis, explained that in anticipation of Tropical Storm Isaac, the company has decided to shut off the water supply in order to secure the water supply systems in the country. He says, though, the company will now shut down water in the afternoon of Wednesday, 12 September.
Dowasco continues to advise the general public to ensure that water is kept in storage in preparation for the passage of Tropical Storm Isaac. The company has reviewed its earlier decision to shut off the water supply in the morning of Wednesday, 12 September, and will now shut off the supply of water at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, 12 September. This is in an effort to afford more time to residents to collect water for domestic use. However, we continue to monitor the progress of the weather system and the precipitation associated with it. Should the weather conditions deteriorate before 2 p.m., it may be necessary to shut off the supply before 2 p.m. on Wednesday. The WASCO remains committed to restoring the water supply as soon as it is feasibly possible to do so after the passage of the storm, and the WASCO continues to advise the general public to exercise vigilance during the passage and the aftermath of the weather system.
You are watching the Channel 5 News. Stay tuned for more after the break.
M&J Covering is the producer of designed galvanized and galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001 275-5003 today.
Welcome back. With the possibility that Dominica could experience tropical storm conditions early Thursday morning, the Dominica Infirmary is prioritizing the safety of its 96 residents.
The infirmary is currently at full capacity and is not in a position to accommodate additional displaced people this time around. The reason for this is that displaced people who were rescued after Hurricane Maria continue to live there 1 year later. The situation is further compounded by people from Petit Savan who have been housed at the infirmary since they were displaced following Tropical Storm Erica in 2015. All of this has limited the infirmary's capacity to take in senior citizens prior to the storm.
We would normally have some available housing for people coming in before storm, but before Maria, we took in people to shelter, and they are still here because they have lost their homes. Of course, we will work with the situation as things progress. We will use our discretion as to how we deal with people coming in, but we really do not have any available beds for any of the elderly right now to take in anyone. Bear in mind as well that most times people come in with an elderly person, that person is either bedridden and that person needs to be secured, and we are not able to provide any additional help in that area.
St. Louis says they are hoping, like every Dominican, that the storm dissipates in the Atlantic, but preparation is a must.
We started yesterday ensuring that all our containers, all our receptacles are filled with water for laundry, for cooking, for bath. We house 96 residents, so that's a lot of water. So you can well imagine we need to be on top of our game. We also store drinking water, both bottled and water that we collect from the tap, and we ensure that we secure it in the right way. We have increased our stock. As of yesterday, we increased our stock, and we normally shop for a month on average, but we have increased that further, bearing also in mind that our staff are expected to report for duty, and we need to ensure that they are provided with a hot meal. Just putting last-minute checks and balances in place, ensuring that everything is secured, increasing our diesel storage, our cooking gas, looking at we have the metal, the aluminum windows, but we also have design block areas that we have a lot of design blocks for ventilation. So in certain areas now we need to put some plywood, and that is a lesson learned from Maria. We felt that we were secure in relation to our aluminum windows and our blocks, but that's where we got the most water coming into the wards. So in certain areas now we need to ensure that we put plyboards that will prevent water from coming in. We're not going to get wind damage. If you look, you can see how strong our structure is, but we need to protect from water.
The infirmary held its final general staff meeting before the storm on Tuesday afternoon. Staff must be at work before curfew takes effect.
Supervisor at the Grotto Home for the Homeless in Bellevue Roll says the establishment is in no position to receive any additional residents as the country prepares for the impact of Tropical Storm Isaac later this week.
Kimmy Paul says the leaky roof rules out the upstairs as safe and therefore only the ground floor can serve as a suitable shelter for the more than 30 residents they currently house. The new building was occupied by displaced residents following Hurricane Maria, but Paul says the impact of flying debris during the storm compromised the roof in a number of areas. She says efforts to repair the leaky roof are continuing.
Actually, we wish we could take people in as a hurricane shelter. However, we have a problem with the building. I mean, we've been trying to fix it since I started working there. I started working in August, and we've been trying to fix the building, the upstairs. The roof is not strong enough. We have no gutterings, and so most of the residents upstairs, we're going to have to rush them downstairs because downstairs is more safe. It's concrete, and there are bars. As a resident, I sheltered there because my house is just at the back of Grotto. It's not climate resilient as yet, so I am going to have to run to Grotto downstairs too. We actually now bringing up some drums to full of water for the residents, you know, because Dowasco is going to take water soon. So we have our drums full in. We have some big tanks. However, the people who were supposed to come here, we have a maintenance person whose name is Rufin. We've been trying to reach her for a while, and you know, she come there, do little things, and we hardly see her, you know. So so we're not ready. We're not ready to take anybody else. I'm sorry. It hurts my heart because I'm really a caring person. And it'll hurt me if people come at the gate and I have to send them somewhere else. I really love to have people. There are people knocking our doors, but if we don't fix the place, how can we take more people?
Is the place leaking?
Yes, my office is leaking right there. At the front there is leaking. The whole place is leaking. There's tarpaulin. If you look outside there, there's tarpaulin over there. Okay, so we need to get tarpaulins removed, and the roofs need to be actually screwed down tightly.
Paul says supplies of food and medicine are in place, but the building does have some outstanding plumbing issues which need to be addressed.
And businessman Perry Bellot calls it his resilience room that doubles up as his office, but it's actually meant to be a strong room.
This is what disaster risk management consultant Cecil Shillingford spoke of during one of the press briefings post-Hurricane Maria. Shillingford strongly advised residents to ensure there is a strong room in their home where the family can be safe during a hurricane. That room would have to have a concrete roof and other features which would make it unnecessary for the family to venture out to a hurricane shelter. Channel 5 News got a chance to see the completed strong room, as Mr. Bellot puts it, his resilience room. The losses he suffered post-Maria helped inspire the project.
It was quite a loss. Fortunately, I thought I may have lost up to about 70% of my books, my reports, my what you call them now, proposals, files, all this kind of thing. And some of it, you can buy another book sometimes, but you know your documents that you acquired over the years, reports and what, are not easy to replace. And I took that hard. I was very certain, almost depressed for a few weeks after, you know, Maurice. But then, because we were throwing out a lot of stuff, just had to throw out and so on. And then we get involved in sort of fixing other things and so on. Because it took us 3 or 4 months before we started work on the roof. And then when we were supposed to start, couldn't start because the suppliers said, sorry, we thought we would have had the plywood by then, but we haven't. Fortunately, there was so much other damage the builders could do to start fixing other things, like all the posts and so on for, you know, porch and veranda. But yes, so absolutely, having here as a strong room with all my important people. And other things that are important in a normal family. You know, if a hurricane is coming, at least you can put them there. And they are going to be relatively safe. Because a lot of people, when you read some of the reports in the papers, their personal experience, a lot of people have lost so many things that, you know, were really personal to them. For instance, pictures.
Yeah, sentimental value.
Sentimental value.
Family stuff. Yes.
And, you know, a lot of the things you can't replace. A special gift given to you by somebody special, you know, who has maybe passed on a few years, you know, and that's how one used to remember the person gone. But at least we have this, and it was really built, as you know, as our resilience room, the strong room, so that we feel comfortable even if we hear something big is coming, because we know where we can go to. And as you say, yeah, the idea is most of the buildings now should be built better than they have been built in the past, and certainly they should have at least one room, that's a strong room that you know hurricane can go to. The problem, I suspect, though, Morris, is that people, for the last few months, just want any kind of roof on their house, and they're taking shortcuts. These days, anybody has ever held a carpenter, held a hammer, figures he's a carpenter, he's a builder, and can offer him services to build. And there have been a lot of sad stories already. In fact, there was a famous building that collapsed, I think, on Independence Street. They said not so much the workmanship, but there was really no foundation for them to build that after the hurricane and so on. But there are a lot of complaints of people taking on 3 or 4 jobs, and then they disappear after a while. You know, and then people are, where you're supposed to be coming back to complete what you've started. And of course, all of them want advance payments.
Bellot says it's critical that builders adhere to the revised building codes and avoid taking shortcuts.
To end the news, the headlines again. Schools to be shut down on Wednesday and Thursday as the country is placed under a hurricane watch. The Infirmary and Grotto Home for the Homeless say no new residents ahead of the approaching storm. And a 2-day shutdown of l'Express Diesel ferry services because of the approaching storm. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Andrea Louis, and to all of our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Join us next time.